So I'm here on High Street down by McDonald's. Let the car go by. And this is a video about the automobile manufacturing in Pottstown in the early part of the 20th century. There was a guy who lived, I'm here at McDonald's because the guy who did this, Mr. Chubbs, he lived 3 doors down from McDonald's. There's a historic marker in front of his house with lots of great information. I'll have it in the video at the end, nice and slow, so you can read it all, nice big print. But anyhow, I decided to start here because this is actually a very interesting area of Pottstown. If you look in old photographs, you see this area back around the turn of the 20th century, 1900. Pottstown has a very wide main street, kind of too wide for the size of the city. Even when the city was 40,000 people, it's now about 20,000. But the story I heard, this is just a story, is that when John Potts laid out the town, he wanted to be able to turn around his team of horses and wagons right on the street, so he could turn around without having to back up the horses, which must be quite a trick, or go around the block or whatever. That's the story. I don't know. He probably just had grandiose ideas about his town he was founding. But anyhow, if you look in the old photographs of the area that I'm looking at right now, right down the crest of this hill, going out of town by the hospital, this is where High Street, which used to be called Main Street, it was just Main Street till they got fancy. I don't know when that happened, but 1870 map, it's called Main Street. This is where the street narrowed down to Ridge Pike, which goes on down into Germantown and Philadelphia. It's around this point that it narrows down to a 2-lane, in the old photographs, a dirt road. Well, all of it was dirt till probably the 20s at least. So it's just kind of nice area. Now, the other thing is about this McDonald's. Oh, sorry about that. This is the site of the famous diner from the Hall & Oates album. The picture of the old diner in the woods with the trees growing around it. That was the Rosemont Diner, and it was right here. And McDonald's, probably back in the 80s or so, I forget when, they bought the land from the guy who owned the diner. And he didn't want to just have the diner destroyed, so he moved it out on 724 down going toward Phoenixville. It was on the left-hand side for many years, which is where the picture was taken for the Hall & Oates album. Love to have a plate from that diner or something. That'd be kind of cool. But anyhow, yeah, this is Rosemont, Avenue, Street, Boulevard, whatever. Very nice neighborhood up here of probably 1920s to 1940s, 50s houses. So anyhow, back to the automobiles. Now it's escaping my mind what the name of the automobile is, but it'll come back in the video. So he lived down here. I'm going to show you some photos of his house and a couple of the not very nice houses around this end of town, like really beautiful, big houses. And then I'm going to get pictures from the factory, which is still extant. It's still original down on Franklin Street along the tracks. And, well, that's it. Automobile manufacturing in Pottstown. Go figure. Okay. All right, here we go. This is the Chubbs Mansion, built the first decade of the 20th century. There's the marker. You'll see that later and be able to read it. Nice house, great porch, huh? So Henry Ford visited here several times because I heard that he was interested in the engine block. I guess he didn't say anything about mass production yet. So this end of town, nice houses. This is just another house, and here's another. Look at this house. Isn't that something? Nice part of town. So now we go down to New Street, which is new in Franklin, and I love this. People sitting out on the sidewalk talking to someone in a car probably last night, and they just lift the chairs out. Pottstown, it's great. It's a great street city, a lot of street life and stuff. So here's the plant where they manufactured the automobiles. So I got a tour inside. It's still a business. They do auto restoration, kind of high end, I think. There were some amazing cars. She showed me the officer manager, very nice woman, took me through upstairs and downstairs. So I got to see the whole thing, and it's all, the floors are original. There are no partitions. There's no. So I figured that upstairs was the upholstery, the woodworking, the paint shop. She told me this was the paint shop. And such to manufacture, and downstairs was probably the engine blocks and assembly for the Chadwick, which was a very high-end car. I think it was 1906 to 1915. They made race cars. They made very good cars. And really only not many years. So this is looking at the bridge over the railroad. That's Franklin. And I love the way that all along these bridges, the houses go down and the street goes up, and makes for some interesting stuff. So I like this because you see that big upstairs window with the hoist. So they could hoist stuff upstairs out of the wagons. Maybe they had a truck. And slide it in on that beam and probably slide it around the plant. I just took this because great little garage. That would make a nice little pied-à-terre, wouldn't it? I can see it. This New Street ends. It's kind of like an alley, but it ends so these people have huge backyards. It's like a playing field back there. You can see the old factory in the back with the stack. I forget what that is. So this is looking back out, going back out to Franklin. At the corner, a lot of old signage. There were a couple of, I think this is the third auto restoration place. Nice stainless steel doors, huh? I think that's the first one, Pollock. All right, so that's looking back out New Street. And then around the corner, some old guy, like me, told me that I believe one of these is the original Mrs. Smith's house, where Mrs. Smith lived and made pies. So Mrs. Smith became a big frozen pie company. When they left for, he told me, Atlanta, they laid off 800 people, and along with the Firestone, I think 2,500, that's what decimated Pottstown. So these bridges, I believe there are three or four of them over the tracks. They're really great little bridges. They're pretty original. The tracks are below grade here. Of course, on the main street, Hanover, they are not. So when the gates come down there, people just head down High Street and cross wherever they like. It's a pretty original bridge, I think. Well, original from probably 1900, around there. So I'll leave you with pictures of the cars, and then you can read the plaque. So look at that, huh? And here's a couple historic. Look at that racing. And look at this dude. Oh, yeah, he's a proud owner. Okay, the Chadwick. Look it up on Google. There's a lot of information. You'll see a lot of stuff. Also, look up Rosemont Diner. There's a lot of very interesting story about the guy who owned Rosemont Diner. Very interesting. I could do a whole thing on that, but it's not a lot left. The diner's gone. It's really interesting, because when he took it out to 724, there was a restaurant across the street which he established, which I think was just torn down. This is 2022. All right. See you around Pottstown. Bye.